Hello, everyone. Welcome. How are you all? Hope you are fine. In this video, we will discuss Against the Gods. Chapter 2, Losing Control. At this time, he was wearing a red wedding robe in a room plastered everywhere with double happiness, red cloth. Last night, his grandfather Xiao Li and his aunt Xiao Lingxi personally arranged this handiwork. His bedroom had been transformed into a wedding room. Suddenly, the door opened and an ethereal figure hastily came in. Xiao Che immediately stood up and smiled. "Little aunt, is grandfather back?" Xiao Lingxi was Xiao Li's daughter from when he was middle-aged. Although she was Xiao Che's aunt, she had only turned 15 this year and was 1 year younger than Xiao Che. She was still quite young, but her beauty was already charmingly touching. Her profound strength was at the early 6th level of the elementary profound realm, but even though she was not on par with Xie Qingyue if compared, it wasn't that bad since she was an important asset to the Zhao clan and was held in high regard. "Oh, chair, you have finally woken up," a gentle voice spread across the room as Xiao Li entered. Seeing Xiao Che already out of bed with a normal complexion, Xiao Li relaxed a bit. Behind him followed his housekeeper Xiao Hong and the #1 doctor in Floating Cloud City, Dr. Situ. "It's good that you have woken up and you do not look ill anymore, but let Dr. Situ examine you. Today is your wedding day, and we cannot have the slightest error. Dr. Situ, please go ahead." Xiao Li stepped aside during his speech. Dr. Situ put his medicine chest onto the table and sat in front of Xiao Che, lifting his hands to finger the pulse on Xiao Che's wrist. After a while, he took his hands off Xiao Che. "Dr. Situ, how is Xiao Che's condition? Is it serious?" Xiao Lingxi asked worriedly, with fearful nervousness etched on her face. Although he did not speak, Xiao Li appeared solemn and had a fierce look on his face. How could he not be aware that Xiao Che's sudden collapse was strange? Dr. Situ's face slowly lit up and eased into a smile. "Elder Xiao, you do not need to worry. Your grandson's physical condition is excellent. He has no major ailments or even the slightest cold. Perhaps your grandson fainted because he was so nervous and excited that his blood rushed to his head. After all, your grandson is marrying Jia Clan's daughter, the #1 beauty in Floating Cloud City. Ho ho ho." Although Dr. Situ tried to conceal his contempt, his words revealed his regret. A talented woman marrying a useless good-for-nothing with no future was truly hard for someone to accept. "That's great news." Xiao Li sighed in relief and nodded in thought. It must be hard on Dr. Situ to be pulled over so early in the morning. "Hong, escort Dr. Situ to the living room to rest." "It's fine," Dr. Situ replied with a wave of his hand and lifted his medicine chest. "Since your grandson is all right, I will take my leave. Congratulations to Elder Xiao on meeting Floating Cloud City's most outstanding granddaughter-in-law. I do not know how many people must envy you right now. Farewell. You must remember to come to the wedding for a drink." Hong, escort Dr. Situ out. "Chair, are you really all right? Do you feel unwell anywhere?" Xiao Li was still not assured after Dr. Situ left and scowled in thought. When Xiao Che suddenly collapsed, his temperature dropped and his vitality faded away. This could not only be a result of being too excited. Looking at Xiao Che's present healthy condition, he indeed looked fine right now, but Xiao Li still could not shake off that small doubt deep in his heart. "I really am all right, grandfather, you can rest assured," Xiao Che said with an easy expression. His nose couldn't help but suddenly sour as he looked at Xiao Li, and he see a worried face with a head full of white hair. Xiao clan consisted of 5 elders, and although Xiao Li was the 5th elder, he was the strongest in the clan. 5 years ago, he entered the border of the Spirit Profound Realm's 10th level. He was now at the peak of the Spirit Profound Realm's 10th level, and had an opportunity to break into the true Profound Realm, a level that countless people dreamt of. Xiao Li was only 55 years old this year with the strength of the 10th level in Profound Spirit Realm, but all his hair had already turned white. Every time Xiao Che saw this head full of white hair, his heart became bitter at the sight. The reason why Xiao Li had white hair since his middle-age years was known to all the people living in Floating Cloud City. His only son, the father of Xiao Che, Xiao Ying, was called the #1 genius of Floating Cloud City. At the age of 17, he broke into the nascent Profound Realm. At 20, he reached the 5th level of the nascent Profound Realm. At 23, he broke through the nascent Profound Realm and entered the true Profound Realm, shocking all people of Floating Cloud City. He became the Xiao clan's pride as well as Xiao Li's pride and joy. Almost everybody believed that when Xiao Ying became middle-aged, he would be the best candidate qualified to inherit the leadership of the Xiao clan. Unfortunately, perhaps because God was jealous of the talented, there was an assassination attempt on Xiao Ying's life only a month after Xiao Che was born. A few days before that, Xiao Ying also saved the life of Xia Clan's daughter. After this rescue, Xiao Ying only could fend off the assassins with half his usual strength and drew his final breath. His wife's heart broke in grief for the loss of her love and went to meet him soon after. Xiao Li's hair became white overnight due to the heavy blow of losing his son. 9 months later, Xiao Lingxi was born. Her mother also suffered from the tortured pain of losing her only son and died of depression a month later. Nobody knew how Xiao Li lived his life the years after both his son and wife passed away. His pale white hair contained immeasurable grief, hatred, and a deep, unspeakable sorrow. To this day, Xiao Li still had not found his son's murderer. Later on, he put all his hopes and wishes onto Xiao Che. But the brutal truth of him being born with damaged, profound veins entered and left his life out of the blue like a bolt of lightning. However, facing his hopeless grandson, Xiao Li never showed any signs of disappointment nor fury. In his point of view, being born with broken, profound veins meant that fate had been unfair and that he should not be condemned because of such injustice. He should not be indifferent or ridicule Xiao Che, but instead should love him more to compensate for it. Over the years, he had always been seeking any possible ways to repair damaged profound veins. However, profound veins were the lifeline of one's profound strength. How can it be so easily repaired? Although Xiao Che was ignored by others and was faced with the mocking eyes of others while growing up, he still felt lucky to have such a grandfather. Looking at Xiao Li's piercing white hair, Xiao Che's eyes gradually sharpened. Since the gods gave me this second chance and let me have both my memories, even if it is to only comfort my grandfather, I have to live vigorously. So what if my profound veins are broken? I am a medical saint's successor. As long as I find the right medicine, in a short span of 3 weeks, I could fully restore my profound veins back to normal. You're all right. That's wonderful to hear. Watching him, Xiao Li was finally rest assured. Glancing at the brightening sky, he spoke, "Chair, the hour is nigh. Go make your preparations while I go arrange the wedding team." "Oh, right. Do you want to ride horseback or sit in the carriage?" If he was yesterday's Xiao Che, he would definitely have answered the carriage. Although he was the only grandson of an elder, without that status, he could be called a good-for-nothing with a world's difference between him and Jiaqing Yue. On his bridal path to the Xia clan, there was no doubt that he would suffer countless finger-pointing and also bear numerous glances of envy and regret. One could imagine what feelings would surface if one met face-to-face in front of such negative emotion. Xiao Che laughed with a slight smile. "Of course I'm riding on the horse. You do not have to worry about me, grandfather. Xia Qingke may be nobility, but she is already fated to be our Xiao family's daughter-in-law. I will openly wed her home with dignity and honor to not let you lose face." There was a delay in Xiao Li's expression, for he would never have thought that his grandson would say such a thing. His face then broke into a gentle smile, and he slowly nodded. "Good." With just one word, his deep satisfaction came through. Xiao Li stepped out of the room and gently closed the door. As soon as Xiao Li left, Xiao Lingxi stood in front of Xiao Che and curled her lips. Her face warped in unhappiness, she spoke. "So you actually are excited for this marriage and made me worry for you in vain. You obviously have not met Xi Qingyu that many times, but you are already fond of her." "Oh, right. She is our floating cloud city's #1 beauty, huh?" Xiao Che quickly waved his hands back and forth. "How's that possible? Xiaqing Yue is quite beautiful, but I think Little Ant is prettier. If I really fainted because of her, then I would not know how many times I would have fainted in this lifetime, because Little Ant always accompanies me every day." Xiao Lingxi's face immediately broke into a sweet smile as she giggled. "You know just the thing to say to make me happy. It's fine if Xiao Che fainted in his rush to marry her because Xiaqing Yue is beautiful as she is talented. Shi clan is also the wealthiest clan in Floating Cloud City, so there is quite a lot of people who dream of marrying her. However, in the end, she is going to marry my family's Xiao Che." At this point, Xiao Lingxi wore a proud look on her face. Then her eyes became wistful as her voice gentled. "I feel like this day came so quickly. Little Che is already about to be married. Pound, pound. A knock on the door was followed by the voice of old housekeeper Xiao Hongkong. Young master, it is almost time to go and meet your bride. Uh, Already? Xiao Lingxi glanced at Xiao Che's clothes and suddenly looked anxious. Uncle Hong, wait a little while longer and we will come out right away. She walked in front of Xiao Che, and a pair of soft hands began to quickly tidy his wedding clothes. This outfit is quite hard to put on. Your clothes are in a mess because of the events earlier. Stand still, I will finish this right away. A pair of snow-white, delicate hands began to work hurriedly. She flipped his collar back to the proper position and refastened his loose belt. Her actions were jerky, but she took it seriously and paid careful attention to what she did. Xiao Che silently looked at her, and his eyes gradually became misty. Today he was going to marry Xie Qingyu, but he knew for sure that Xie Qingyu was not marrying him because she sincerely loved him. If it weren't for their fathers, Xiaoxing and Xia Hongyi's agreement that March, Xie Qingyu would not even have bothered to take a glance in his direction. The only people in this world who were kind to Xiao Che were his grandfather, Xiao Li, and his little aunt, Xiao Lingxi. During his earliest childhood, Xiao Lingxi stuck to Xiao Che like a piece of candy. She followed him wherever he went, and it was hard for him to shake her off. If she did not see him for a while, she would cry loudly. However, when Xiao Che turned 10 years of age, and it was confirmed that his profound veins were damaged, Lingxi seemed to grow up overnight. She knew the consequences of having broken profound veins, and then understood the concept of her identity as his little aunt. This started her regime of training in the ways of the profound to protect the life of the weaker Xiao Che. After the Azure Cloud Continent's 24 years of dreams, Xiao Qi felt that his time here with Xiao Lingxi's kindness was as luxurious as it was precious. Although Xie Qingyue was about to become his wife, she would only be like the sky's coldest moon, something to only be seen but not touched. If I marry a girl like Little Aunt, it would be perfect. These kinds of thoughts uncontrollably popped up in Xiao Che's state of mind. After completing the complex motions of dressing Xiao Che, Xiao Lingxi let out a sigh of relief. Tippy-toeing, she lifted her hand and tousled his hair. With an expression of tender affection clearly printed on her face, her pink lips slightly parted like petals of a flower. With a supernatural speed, Xiao Che instinctively tilted his head and pressed his mouth against Xiao Lingxi's lusciously pink lips. It was still early in the morning, and the sky had not fully brightened. Today was his and Jacqueline's big wedding day. 2 hours ago, he was woken up by his little aunt and put on his red wedding robe. He ate the porridge his little aunt personally made and lost all the strength in his body. He did not remember anything that happened after that. He did not wake up until now. A strange smell came from his lips, and Xiao Che's lips tucked slightly. His expression darkened. This is murdering heart powder. In those years that he lived on the Azure Cloud Continent, with the sky poison pearl in his body, Yun Che learned about all the poisons present in the entire world, and it could be said that there was no poison he was not familiar with. He could identify a poison's name and effect with just a whiff. At the same time, because the sky poison pearl, he was impervious. He could not be hurt by any poison, no matter how toxic it was. Murdering heart powder was made by combining a unique soul grass and the purple striae from a cherry apple tree. If dissolved in water, the poison was colorless and tasteless. A person would lose his life 10 seconds after the poison entered the body, and no one would know the cause of death, for it was also a traceless poison. Xiao Che's eyes clouded over and instantly understood what had happened. In fact, he did not really faint. Instead, he drank the porridge containing the murdering heart powder and was poisoned to death. He was born in the Azure Cloud Continent, but after he leapt off Cloud's End Cliff, he was actually reincarnated in this world inside a dead body. If one were to hear this, it would sound like it was a fantastical story, but that was the only reasoning Xiao Che could imagine. Wait a minute. If it really was like that, then this body should have no antitoxin ability. How come he was safe from the murdering heart powder on his lips when the previous body's owner died not too long ago? A slightly strange feeling came from the palm of his left hand. Xiao Che lifted his left hand and was surprised to find that there was a circular green imprint on his palm. This shape, this color, this size was clearly the same as the sky poison pearl. Before jumping off Cloud's End Cliff, He had desperately swallowed the sky poison pearl, but he did not actually know what would happen to him. This mark on his hand was unexpectedly the sky poison pearl, and it actually crossed over with him to this world.